I always knew Soul Train was iconic because that was the only place where you could see Black artists. I knew that it was a part of history, and I knew I wanted to be a part of that history. My name is Wanda Knight, and I was a Soul Train dancer from 1988 to 1992. I'm an Air Force brat, so I was actually born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but I was raised in Pearl City, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu, which is where my mother's from. And my father was an Air Force officer. That's where I spent most of my childhood years. I was never formally trained. I was a cheerleader in high school. The people who inspired my dancing was my grandparents, my aunts and my uncles. They'd have these parties at their house and everybody would be dancing and having a good time. So my sisters and I always loved dancing. We were watching Soul Train and I would see, the iconic dancers like Demita Jo Freeman, Jeffrey Daniels, Jody Watley, Sharon Hill, Freddie Max, Tyrone Proctor. I'd see how they were dancing, and that kind of just inspired me. My dad became stationed in Los Angeles, so that's when we moved here. We moved to Carson, California, and then he changed jobs and ended up in Orange County. And I went to school at La Habra High School, and I remained there until I left in the 80s to go to college. I went to UCLA. In the 80s, when I was in college, I was always out in the clubs. And anybody that's from LA, they'll know about the iconic Paradise 24. I would go there religiously. And one evening, the dance coordinator at the time, his name is Eric Kasim, he saw me dancing and he pulled me to the side and he said, I really like your look. I like the way you dance. Would you like to go on Soul Train? And I was super excited because I was still watching it then. He told me where the taping was, and I remember there was a long line of folks, and I'm thinking to myself, oh gosh, is he gonna see me? How am I gonna get in here? And he saw me in the line, and he pulled me out, and he had me come in. Once he saw me dancing on the floor, Don had me do the scramble board.
And we'd like you to meet two of our Soul Train dancers. How your name?
Wanda.
Hey, Wanda.
I was just really surprised that they tell you what the word is ahead of time. Because I would always think, gosh, everybody always gets the word right. It was an exciting time. When I first started dancing on there, I was still at UCLA, so I used to take my books and I would study during breaks. They would sort of try to partner you based on your height. I would dance with Marco Di Santiago because we always seemed to flow really well, no matter what the era was. When it became more hip hop, I flowed a lot with Jeffrey McCrinnan because we both danced really hard and we were both, into the hip hop dancing, and I could easily emulate whatever partner I was dancing with at the time. So, he was real hyped. So, if the song was right, we would just really, really flow really well together. And then I started getting placed in the center riser. So when I was in the center riser, I sort of just danced by myself.
But a chair is not a house, and a house is not a home when there's no one there.
There's so many memorable moments on Soul Train. One thing I do remember is most of the guests that came on Soul Train, they would sing to their tracks. And I remember one time Luther Vandross came on Soul Train and he sang live. And that was a super, super memorable moment. I also remember the first time Belle Biv DeVoe came on Soul Train because Poison was out, hip hop and New Jack Swing was really popping, and everybody was super excited, and the show was just fire. And I remember being really excited and really enjoying that show because they had these dancers that were hot, and everybody was just really, really hyped. The Soul Train line was really special because that was your time to shine. I mean, the camera's on you, and there's an art to coming down the line because you have to make sure that your clothes are right, and you have to master your dancing while you're still moving down the line. They really didn't like you too much to just stay in one spot. So I always enjoyed the line because that was my little 5 minutes of fame. The first time I came down the line, I had on a really short dress, and I was coming down the line doing my little move, and my dress kept hiking up. And I was trying to pull it down and still keep dancing coming down the line. There were definitely certain dances that I did, but I don't know if they really have a certain name. But in terms of a signature dance move, I would say whatever I was doing at the time, I might have become known for. Because I just remember my family always teasing me, you know, if they're gonna act the way I was coming down the line, they would always do this one move. In terms of a name, I don't know if there's a name or anything, but once you get a groove and you see how you look on camera, a lot of times you want to try to use that same move or something similar. I wore a lot of leggings, tight short dresses, shorts, boots. That was kind of my own style. At the time I was on, Tony Briggs, now called Tamichi, was designing for a lot of the dancers. And he wasn't designing for me until after the show. In fact, this is one of his designs that I'm wearing today. I really didn't have a signature style. What I would do is I would look at the way that Tamichi was dressing the other dancers, and I would try to emulate the way he dressed the other dancers. So we would kind of be in uniform. I remember one show where he had everybody dressed in orange and black. It might have been around Halloween, and I just happened to be wearing orange and black that day. And then another time, the same thing happened where we all had on like this bright fuchsia pink color. So that's kind of the style that I kind of looked after, was however Tony was dressing the other dancers. In terms of Soul Train providing other opportunities outside of the show, I wasn't doing the auditions and all of that stuff because I was busy trying to get out of UCLA. I would come and I would study. I just loved to dance. That's why I was on the show. I wasn't trying to be in the industry or do any other modeling or do some of the other things that some of the other kids were doing. The reason I stopped dancing on Soul Train was because I was graduated from UCLA, and then I wanted to go back and get my graduate degree. I ended up getting an MBA from USC's Marshall School of Business, and I wanted to start my aerospace career. I am an artist, and I started my own company called Creations by Wanaka, where I sell my artwork and prints. I had pieces that were on shows. I had pieces on Ally McBeal, My Wife and Kids, Private Practice. I was starting to get known, and then, unfortunately, an event happened where I almost died. I fainted from low blood, and I fell straight back, and my brain hit the front of my skull, and I had a brain bleed. I was in a coma for a month. I was in ICU for another month. And then I had rehab for the third month. I had to relearn everything. I suffered permanent brain damage. I had to relearn to speak. I had lost the use of my right arm, so I had to relearn how to use my arm. And it really, really changed my life. Once getting through that, because of the permanent brain damage, I now have seizure disorder. I went through all of that. I was able to continue my career. Right now, what I do is I buy rockets for the Space Force. So in other words, I work on acquisition strategies to determine how we're going to do the next phase of our access into space.
Everybody's talking all this stuff about me. Now, they just
Soul Train was so impactful. It really influenced culture. It brought Black culture to the forefront. I would dance on Soul Train again in a heartbeat. It was such a fabulous time in my life, such a great experience. There'll be nothing like it. I mean, ever.
It's